Hello YouTube, welcome to RC Buggy Bash, and I'm Jason, and this is not a Tamiya. Yes, I've had a lot of videos recently about Tamiyas. They are one of my loves. One of my other loves from RC are Mavericks. Um, the Maverick brand, I've had their cars in various guises since they released the first Atom, which was a 1/18th scale buggy. That was in, gosh, 2008, maybe something like that. Early, well, mid 2000s. Um, they are a UK distributor and part of the HPI family. And they've been releasing kind of OEM brands of cars for a long time. But the Maverick stuff is, for me, especially good. I am the moderator owner of the Maverick RC Owners Club on Facebook. I'll put a link to that down there if anybody's interested. Because again, this was one of the cars that got me back into the hobby. The buggy version of this. This is a updated, customized Maverick XT. It's a stadium truck, and one of the reasons why I'm talking about this one today is I was just watching the MKGP on YouTube. It was the live finals today, 16th of February 2025, and they had everything going there. It's an amazing event held in the Milton Keynes shopping mall. Absolutely stunning event. Well done to everybody who did that. I was involved in a similar event several years ago in the Aberdeen Union Square, a shopping centre, which was organised by the amazing and very missed Dan Rowlands, who was a good friend of mine, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. But incredible indoor events, really good for the hobby. And the Milton Keynes one that was on today, they had everything there. They had vintage, they had two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, but they also had stadium trucks. And it reminded me how much fun these things can be. They're at 10th scale, they're huge. I mean, it barely fits on my workstation. I can barely get it into camera. They're really fun cars. They have a big footprint, which makes them very different to drive from most things. They're incredibly stable. They can take a lot of punishment, and the Maverick ones, the ones that were driving around in the GP today were things like Schumachers and X-rays. They start from 350 to £400 and go all the way up to about £600 depending on what you get. This was 119, brand new, and you can get them cheaper. Yes, it's nowhere near an X-ray or a Schumacher stadium truck, but it gets the job done. It gives you that hit, that fix of stadium truck, or truggy as they're often known as. So yeah, this is my Maverick XD. I have a Maverick XB as well. This is all the Strada, which I think I've got it. Yeah, the Strada. This is all the Strada Evo range. Maverick also do a new Quantum and Phantom ranges of cars, which I have the Phantoms. I have both the Truggy, which is it's almost like a monster truck actually version of the Phantom, and I have the Buggy Phantom as well. I'll show them at some other time. But this is my XD Strada. Now the Stradas are bulletproof. They are incredibly tough cars and very easy to work on. I mean, I drove this one. This has been raced a few times actually, even with higher end cars, and it did okay. Kidderminster, I raced this one along with my Tamiya Aquashot, which is the kind of Tamiya stadium truck. And this did much better than the Tamiya one. It's a classic layout. It's a slimline bathtub ABS chassis with a central alloy brace. You can get carbon fiber versions of these to be able to hop it up. You can get carbon fiber shock mounts. You can even get carbon fiber or alloy chassis for these as well. If you look off brand, this was originally a HSP brand, which Maverick has redone for the UK market. I've got a Ghoul RC brushless system into this one. It's a 3600 kV motor with its partnered speed control, so that came as a set. It's got my Fly Sky in there as standard because this goes onto my multi handset, so I've got like 10 cars in that one handset, and a fairly high torque servo. It's a Core RC servo in there, I think. Could be. It's got Absema, which they now do a version of this. Absema actually do a version of this car, but this has Absema alloy shocks all round. They are probably one of the best budget shocks you can get if you can find them. I think they still make them. They're really nice. These are just the ones that you can use clips to adjust, but you can get fully adjustable ones with threaded head caps. It's got a really nice feel to it. This has gone through quite a lot of punishment, and it just keeps on going. Like I said, they're bulletproof. I've also got the alloy updates for the front and rear shock towers. That's one of the known weak points. They do come with an alloy shock tower, but it's only about 2.5 mil, and it bends, which means it can take a lot of punishment, but eventually you can't bend it back into shape. So I got the updated versions of those. And it's a full metal drivetrain, which is, it was uncommon when these came out. It was one of the first ones, I think, that had a proper full metal drivetrain. There's no slipper or anything fancy like that, so it's direct drive, which is fine. And they've got a little bit of slop and movement in the chassis, but that's why they're so robust, that they bend rather than buckle. And this has been a lot of fun. When I last drove it, which was probably a year and a half ago, I decided to try some ribbed, I was going to say something there, but I won't, some sand tires, because I was doing some very, very fine grit driving up at a building site that was near me at the time. And I just wanted to see how they worked. I mean, it doesn't make it 4-wheel drive. It kind of makes it 2.5-wheel drive, because you get no grip. But it did actually steer really well. It gave an interesting handling. It means I could throw it around a bit. And it meant that the back powered through corners, and allowed for a little bit of oversteer and understeer. It was quite good fun. And it was different. I'll probably put proper tires and wheels back on the front of it if I want to next take it out. But yeah, so the Maverick cars, you can get them anywhere in the UK, Model Sport, Wheelspin, etc. Most will stock Maverick. And Australia, they're really quite popular in Australia as well. They do come in various different guises in other places over the world, as I said. Absema are the kind of European, Germany, France, etc. They're probably the Absema. They do a kit version that you can get for about £80, which is really good. Or you can get RTR for about 130. You do get them brushed or brushless. The standard Maverick brushless stuff is really good. The brush versions, which is what I generally drive, I think this is one of the only brushless cars that I have. And I went brushless with this because I knew that the car was strong enough for my talent, if you know what that means. I'm a fun driver. I do like track driving, but I'm also not the best driver in the world. And sometimes these cars, are too much for my talent and my skill. This, even if I had a pretty bad tumble, I know will probably survive, because they are tough. They're really, really tough cars. I also have the alloy hubs in here as well on all 4 corners. Thread locked all the bolts and stuff in there, so it adds a little bit of rigidity to it. But I've kept the arms the original plastics. That gives a bit of flex into the chassis, so if it does go into something, if it lands poorly onto an edge, it will generally survive that. But Yeah, they're brilliant, brilliant cars as a brand. Highly recommend anybody looking into to getting into the hobby to look at the Maverick brand in the UK. The Quantum Flux, the Quantum 2s, which are the most recent ones, are stunning. They look amazing. They are not competition cars, they're bashers. They're to go out into a quarry, onto a skate park and bash around and just have fun with RC. But they are really, really nice design. And I'm hoping to have one eventually. The Phantoms, the Phantom brand, there's a buggy and a truggy. I'll show them in more detail at some other point, but again, a fairly robust chassis. They were originally Himotos, I believe, rebranded with Maverick parts. The nice thing what Maverick do when they take a chassis and redesign it is that they will update the materials. So generally, you will get kind of HD versions of everything. You will get carbon reinforced. You will get better parts. They'll be manufactured with slightly higher quality plastics, etc. So they are a good brand to support. You can get off-brand alloy parts. That's what all these are on this. These are not Maverick branded. These are HSP branded parts. So but they fit like for like. And again, it's another car that's very easy to work on. If you're wanting to get into this to get to the diffs, then front and back, you more or less just have to take off the shock towers. I've gotten into the diffs with these without even taking off without taking the shocks off, because you could just take the shock towers, let them kind of dangle a little bit from the turnbuckles, and then you can get at the diffs. You will have to take off the center brace. That'll have to come off because that's actually attached to part of the diffs. But once that's off, the diffs and the whole front and rear are separate units, which I really, really like. I wish more cars did that. I'm a big fan of the TT02 as a platform, but one of the things that kind of bugs me a little bit about that is that the diffs and the front and rear kind of gearbox frames are partly molded into the main chassis, and I would much prefer the way that this is done, where you have that way you have a chassis plate which goes more or less from front to back. I mean, this has got additional bumpers and things like that, but you have a chassis plate that is one piece, and then all the gearboxes fit onto this, and that means you can just take the gearboxes off if anything goes wrong with that. So MVK, the Maverick Strada XT. This is the Evo version, released about 10 years ago. Any edition of it is worth the money. These are amazing, brilliant entry-level cars, great for club racing. They did touring car versions, they've got buggies, they've got desert trucks, they even have a short course truck version. The only downside is that if you were wanting to legitimately race with one of these, they are the wrong size. They're the right width, but their wheelbase is slightly too short, because this chassis tub and everything on it is still from the XB. It's still the buggy, just with longer A-arms, longer suspension and tie rods, etc. So it's the right width, but it's a little bit too short. So it technically is not to the specifications of the BRCA for racing four-wheel drive stadium trucks. But it's close. And if you're just wanting to have a bit of fun, then these are great. These are amazing. There's not much really more I can say about this particular one. As I said, it's got a lot of updates on it compared to what you would normally get. But even the base version comes with oil shocks, comes with alloy suspension, shock towers. It comes with an alloy brace. It has an alloy steering shaft. Everything about the Mavericks is pretty good quality. for the price mark. You know, as I said, it's not a Schumacher or an X-Ray or something like that, but it's a very competent car. It's a lot of fun to drive, and very, very, very robust. As with any car, it's not going to take a 35, 40 mile an hour straight on collision with a curb, but it will take a good pounding, especially in brushed form. When you can only do 20 to 25 miles an hour, these things are nigh on indestructible. So I do highly recommend Mavericks as an introductory kind of car, and there might be some footage of this on my channel already from years ago. I tried a different gear ratio in it at one point, and I burnt out a brush motor in it, so that was fun. Smoke, but that's happened to everybody. So there we go, Maverick Strada XT, with hop-up parts. Great build, great to work on, great to drive. Really good entry level and club racing car. That is my Maverick, and I will show you some more Mavericks in the future. As always, I hope that was at least a little bit entertaining or informative about this car. Really appreciate everybody that watches, and everybody that likes and subscribes is brilliant. So thank you very much for everyone. I've gained several subscribers just in the last week or so, so it's been amazing to see that. I'm getting comments now in various videos. I love that. I will try and respond to as many as I can as soon as I can. So please do like and subscribe. This spring and summer is going to have a lot more driving videos, and maybe some racing, which will be fun to do. I live an hour or so away from a couple of off-road tracks, which I'm hoping to get to and get some footage of various cars, even though all my cars are not competitive. They are Tamiya fun ones, apart from a Durango DEX 210, which I'm terrified to drive because it costs a fortune now and there's no spares. But thank you, everybody. As always, stay safe and have fun with RC. It's what it's all about. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe.